All right, we have a great question here. How is it that OPEC has so much control over the industry when America has such a huge oil reserve, including but not limited to the Gulf of Mexico's 3.5 billion barrels in the Yucatan? Well, first of all, OPEC controls 40% of the world's oil production. So that alone, anytime you control that much of the production, you're going to control the industry. The United States produces 13%. But the key point is that OPEC producing nations, especially Saudi Arabia, their oil is very easy to produce and their wells do not have a very significant decline rate whatsoever. In the United States, our wells decline pretty rapidly. We have to add almost 2 million barrels of oil a day annually in production in the United States, just to stay at the exact same production level, because the wells are declining every single day. So just to maintain production, we have to add 2 million barrels of oil of production every single year. We have to add that. Saudi Arabia doesn't have to do that. And to give you an example, this number right there, 29, that is Saudi Arabia's current rig count. Yeah, they're producing like 9 million barrels of oil a day, and that's their rig count. Our rig count is 622. Yeah, it takes a lot more people, it takes a lot more rigs, it takes a lot more time, and it takes a lot more money for us to produce oil than it does Saudi Arabia or any of the other OPEC nations. Their oil is cheap to extract, it's shallow, it's got strong reservoir pressure, and their wells produce a shit ton of oil, a lot more than ours do. They don't need to drill as many wells. Their wells don't decline like ours do. It is easy to produce oil in Saudi Arabia. And you have to keep in mind, for us to compete with that, we would have to produce as much oil cheaper than all of those 14 countries combined. Saudi Arabia can make money with oil at $20 a barrel. We're broken dead at $20 a barrel. And then you consider the fact that those OPEC nations, the vast majority of them, their oil companies are majority owned by the government. Like, they're mostly nationalized. Our oil companies are controlled by, publicly and privately held companies. It's just different. If U.S. producers even thought of trying to compete with OPEC on a scale and produce on a scale like they do, they would all go broke. They would all be bankrupt in a very short amount of time. And our offshore wells are unbelievably expensive, take years to develop, and don't produce any more than the wells in Saudi Arabia that they can drill and complete in a month. Cheaply. Like, we just cannot compete with that. That's not a thing that can happen.